It is July 30, 1930. Over 93,000 screaming fans packed the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo, Uruguay for the first ever World Cup final. But before kickoff, a bizarre crisis threatens to halt the game. Argentina and Uruguay refuse to play with each other's match balls. The referee, John Langenis of Belgium, compromises. Argentina will use their ball in the first half, and Uruguay will use theirs in the second. Argentina leads 2-1 at halftime with their ball, but Uruguay dominates the second half with their own, winning 4-2. This chaotic tournament, envisioned by FIFA President Jules Rimet, featured just 13 invited teams and 0 qualification matches, setting the stage for a global phenomenon. To understand how we got there, we have to travel back to May 1928 at the FIFA Congress in Amsterdam. For decades, the Olympic Games held the monopoly on international football, but strict amateur rules excluded the world's best professional players. Jules Rimet, the visionary French president of FIFA, realized that football needed its own independent, professional championship. He successfully passed a resolution to create Quadrennial World Championship open to all national associations. Uruguay, having won the 1924 and 1928 Olympic football gold medals, was selected as the host country, agreeing to build massive new stadium and pay for the travel expenses of all participating European nations, who faced grueling 2-week journey across the Atlantic Ocean. Following successful tournaments in Italy in 1934 and France in 1938, the dark clouds of World War I enveloped the World Cup for 12 long years. During this devastating conflict, the vice president of FIFA and president of the Italian Football Federation, Ottorino Baresi, secretly hid the golden Jules Rimet trophy in a humble shoebox under his bed in Rome to prevent occupying Nazi troops from confiscating it. When the tournament finally returned in 1950, Brazil stepped up to host, building the colossal Maracana Stadium. The tournament concluded not with traditional final, but round-robin group where Brazil only needed draw against Uruguay to claim their first title, setting up one of the greatest shocks in sporting history. On July 16, 1950, an official crowd of 173,850. The actual estimates exceed 200,000, squeezed into the Maracana. Brazil took the lead through Fraica, and the stadium erupted. But Uruguay fought back, equalizing through Juan Alberto Schiaffino. Then, in the 79th minute, Alcide's Gigas sped down the right wing and slipped the ball past Brazilian goalkeeper Moser Barbosa. The stadium fell into silent, collective state of shock. Uruguay's 2-1 victory, forever known as the Maracanazo, left an entire nation in deep mourning and forced Brazil to permanently abandon their white jerseys in favor of the now famous yellow and green. The 1954 World Cup in Switzerland marked a technological turning point, becoming the first tournament to be broadcast on television, reaching home screens across Europe. This era of rapid technological advancement coincided with the arrival of a 17-year-old prodigy named Edson Arantes do Nascimento, universally known as Peel. In the 1958 tournament in Sweden, Peel scored 6 goals, including 2 in final, propelling Brazil to their first World Cup victory and elevating football to global art form. By 1970, when Mexico hosted the first tournament broadcast live in color, Peel's legendary Brazil team won their 3rd title, earning the right to keep the original Jules Rimet trophy forever, which was later tragically stolen in 1983 and never recovered. As television audiences grew to hundreds of millions, FIFA modernized the game's mechanics to improve fair play and structure. In 1970, inspired by the colors of traffic lights, English referee Ken Aston invented red and yellow cards to eliminate language barriers between referees and international players. Tactical revolutions swept the tournament, from Italy's defensive catenaccio system to the total football introduced by Rinus Michels and Johan Cruyff with the Netherlands in 1974. The tournament's format evolved as well, expanding from 16 teams to 24 in 1982 and eventually to 32 teams in 1998, reflecting the post-Cold War geopolitical landscape and the rise of powerhouse nations from Africa and Asia. No individual tournament has ever been dominated by a single figure quite like the 1986 World Cup in Mexico was by Diego Armando Maradona. In the quarterfinal match against England, played under high political tension following the Falklands War, Maradona scored 2 of the most famous goals in football history within a span of 4 minutes. The first, scored in the 51st minute, was a controversial handball he later claimed was scored a little with the head of Maradona a little with the hand of God. The second, just 4 minutes later, saw him dribble past 5 English players over 60 yards in. A spectacular 10-second dash, widely voted as the goal of the century, driving Argentina to their second World Cup title. Today, the FIFA World Cup has evolved from a small 13-team invitational tournament into the single most watched sporting event on planet Earth. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar drew a combined global audience of over 5 billion viewers, with the dramatic final between Argentina and France alone attracting nearly 1.5 billion live viewers worldwide. FIFA's revenues for the 2019-2022 cycle reached staggering $7.5 billion, driven by lucrative broadcasting rights, global corporate sponsorships, and ticket sales. This financial and cultural dominance has transformed the tournament into a massive geopolitical instrument, where nations spend hundreds of billions of dollars to build infrastructure and host the global stage. The tournament's evolution shows no signs of slowing down as we look toward the 2026 World Cup, which will be co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. For the first time in history, the tournament will expand from 32 teams to 48, resulting in a complex matrix of 12 groups of 4 teams and total 104 matches. This expansion guarantees broader global representation, particularly for nations in Africa, Asia, and North America, but presents monumental logistical challenges across 3 vast time zones. What started in 1930 as a modest tournament of 13 teams in a single city has transformed into a massive multi-continental festival that unites half of humanity every 4 years.